deal with it and to manage it and not allow it to destroy me and not allow it to sap all of my energy and all of my vitality for living out of me. Are y'all listening with me? See, some of us are allowing something we can't change to render us paralyzed to where we're not even living. We're just existing. And we then become a victim, and we give this thing so much power over us, and we convince ourselves, I can't change, I can't do better, I can't do nothing in my life until this situation changes. And the situation then becomes God in your life. Paul refused to allow his thorn in the flesh to be his God. So look at what Paul says. Verse 7, I got this message of Satan in my flesh sent to buffet me. Concerning this, verse 8, I pleaded with the Lord 3 times that it might depart from me. Now, some of my charismatic Pentecostal friends, they don't read this passage. Because in their theology, if you pray right, fast right, dance right, sing right, jump right, then whatever you want, you get. But the greatest theologian on the planet other than Jesus Christ prayed right, fast right, served right, lived right, and did right, and then prayed 3 times and asked the Lord to take away this thorn in the flesh, and God said no. Verse 8, concerning this thing, I plead with the Lord 3 times that it might depart from me. And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. My strength is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, gladly, I will rather boast in my infirmity that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore, I take pleasure in infirmity, in reproaches, bring it on, in needs, in persecution, in distress. Paul said, this is the way this thing works. Paul said, this is the way God's economy works. If God's economy works like this, the more trouble I get, and the more I submit myself to God, the more grace of God I get, the more hell I catch because I'm trying to serve Christ, the more grace that I get, the more persecution I get, the more grace I get. Paul said, I will joy in persecution. I'll rejoice in humiliation, because if God's grace is perfected inside of me, if God's grace is made perfect inside of me as I go through the painful, uncomfortable pressure, disappointment, hurts, and frustration of life, Paul says, then I will rejoice. He said, I will turn my thorns into my friends. Verse 10 as I close, therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities. You ever thought about approaching life like that? Grow up something wrong, say, shucks. God is more, is greater than this. God's grace is more sufficient than this. And God knew I was going to deal with this while I was asleep last night. So by the grace of God, I'm going to trust him in some kind of way. God is going to work this situation out. That's the way Paul viewed life. See, once we really understand the grandeur of God, and once we understand the providence of God, and once we really understand that we are merely God's servants, we begin to realize we don't control the situation or circumstances that God takes us into. All we do is control how we respond. We control how we respond to it. And we control whether or not we'll respond by saying, Lord, I don't like this. I wasn't expecting this. I don't know what to do with this, but I'm going to trust you to help me. When we respond like that, then we open up the floodgate for God to pour his grace into our lives and God to elevate us to a stature to where we can become his ministers and we become his showpieces of how God's divine providence propels his people over the uneven terrain, over the rocky places of life. That's just how it is down here, y'all. And so if you're expecting a carefree life, if you are expecting a trouble-free life, a problem-free life, I hate to burst your bubble this morning. It ain't happening. It just ain't happening. It's not going to happen down here. Well, I'm preaching to myself this morning because I got to get in my car. I got to drive to Virginia Beach. But I ain't going on vacation. My wife's car that y'all bought, that I refinanced to pay for my kids' college education, I just got paid off the second time. The transmission went out. And I was just thinking before they went down, I said, look, this car, I'm going to pay this final payment on July the 15th. And this thing will be paid for, and they're going to send me the title in the mail. And I said, they can drive at least 3 more years. And I don't even have a car pay. I said, the best car I like, the ones that are the most attractive to me are the ones that don't have no payment. Well, so much for that idea. The transmission went out. It's hard to find a transmission for these cars, y'all. So I got to take a whole lot of money. I'll cry all the way down there. This is my thorn in the flesh for this week. I told my family, here go your vacation trip. Y'all might as well ride down there with me, walk down the beach while I go get the car. This is it. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. So sometimes the messenger of Satan, the thorn in the flesh, is a broke transmission. Sometimes the dishwasher that go out, or the washer and the dryer that go out at the same time. That's just the way it is down here. But by the grace of God, we press on. And somehow, some way, God make a way. Amen? Amen. Let's bow together, shall we?